Echoing Void is the final DLC installment of the Orb of Dominance plotline, a plotline that started many DLCs ago. It has been a few weeks since this DLC was released, adding a whole new host of enemies, levels, and items to the game. But what are the best new additions this DLC offers, and what are some negatives as well? And most importantly, should you buy this DLC? That is what I'll be covering in this video, so when you're ready, let's jump right in. You followed the story of the Arch-Illager and found the shards from the Orb of Dominance. Now it's time to reach the end. The final chapter of Minecraft Dungeons unfolds in Echoing Void, the newest DLC. Face new enemies, collect gear, and make your way through challenging new missions to end this fight once and for all. Just like the description explains, this DLC is supposed to be the wrap-up of the Orb of Dominance plotline. No, I will not be showing any major spoilers, but just from the description alone, you can expect to have a pretty final resolution to the story in this DLC. The Echoing Void DLC is unique from the other DLCs because you have to first build the portal to the end before you can actually start playing the new levels. Now, in order to gather all 6 Eyes of Ender you need to build the portal to the end, you'll have to first play through 6 missions from the mainland and battle an Ender boss in each of those missions. Now, no other DLC before this has had such a mechanic. And honestly, even though I was a little annoyed that I couldn't jump straight into playing the DLC right after I bought it, looking back, I think it was a pretty cool addition to the game. It forced players to revisit some of the oldest levels of the game. I mean, when was the last time you played through the entire Pumpkin Pastures level? If you were anything like me, it's been a while. This definitely added a little bit more depth to the DLC compared to others. My only complaint was that this was not very clear on what to do, so it took me a little while to figure it out, but once I did, it wasn't too bad. But if you would like for me to make a quick guide on how to get all 6 Eyes of Ender and their locations, let me know in the comments below and I can definitely make one. This DLC adds 3 brand new missions to the game: the Stronghold, End Wilds, and Broken Citadel. And just like the other DLC missions, these are pretty big missions. It will definitely take you some time to complete these, especially if you're exploring the entire maps, which I always recommend when playing through them for the first time. Along with the new missions, this DLC and update brought a bunch of stuff to the game. Those things include new enchantments, weapons, armors, artifacts, and a whole bunch of new and interesting mobs, which I will go over. First up, for the 3 new unique armors, we have the Troubadour, which is a unique variant of the Entertainer's Garb. Its abilities are negative 30% negative effect status duration, health potions heal nearby allies, and plus 30% positive effect status duration. These abilities aren't terrible, but there are definitely some better armors out there. Next up, we have the Sturdy Shulker armor, which is a unique variant of the Shulker armor. Its abilities are mobs target you more, which I am not sure why you would ever want that if you're playing solo, take less damage when swarmed, fires Shulker projectiles at nearby enemies, and what I think is the best and most OP ability for this armor is that it deflects enemy projectiles, which is very useful. The last new armor is the Unstable Robes, which is a unique variant of the Teleportation Robes. Its abilities are roll to teleport, plus 50% soul gathering, and trigger explosion on rolling teleport. Like it says, instead of rolling, this armor will let you teleport instead, and the explosion is the cherry on top. This is more of a fun armor to use rather than practical. They also added 4 brand new artifacts to the game: the Shadow Shifter, Tome of Duplication, Vexing Chant, and the Void Quiver. The Shadow Shifter requires souls and can be used to hide from enemies, as it can grant the player shadow form, but only for a limited time. The Tome of Duplication functions similarly to the Satchel of Snacks and Elixirs, where it is capable of creating a consumable item with a unique chance of even creating it twice, and even capable of making duplicates of non-food consumables like TNT. The Vexing Chant can summon 3 Guardian Vexes that can aid the hero in defeating mobs. This is pretty comparable to the other mob summoning artifacts, but it's still pretty cool nonetheless. And finally, we have the Void Quiver, which grants the hero arrows tipped with Voided. This allows multiplying damage once inflicted onto the target. This artifact is pretty good when fighting against other bosses, and I highly recommend giving it a try. They also added 5 brand new weapons to the game. The first weapon is the Swift Striker, which is a unique variant of the Backstabber. Its abilities are extra damage on unsuspecting enemies and sometimes attacks twice. Again, this is not the best weapon, but can be fun to use. The next weapon is the Starless Knight, which is the unique variant of the Obsidian Claymore. Its abilities are very powerful combo and excess damage hits nearby mobs. This is a very slow but very hard hitting weapon that is great at crowd control. You just have to have the right enchantments on it to make it viable. The next weapon is the Veiled Crossbow, which is the unique variant of the Shadow Crossbow. Its abilities are chance of shadow form on kills and first shot does not break shadow form. This is a very niche weapon where it can only be used if you want to avoid enemies. This next weapon is probably the best new weapon this DLC has to offer. It is a dual wield weapon called the Beginning and the End, which is a unique variant of the Void Touch Blade. Its abilities are leeches health from mobs and applies rising damage multiplier. These are really good abilities for a weapon because it focuses on increased damage output and increased healing, which are very, very important fundamentals for any good build. The last new weapon they added is a bow called Call of the Wild, which is a unique variant of the Void Bow. Its abilities are applies rising damage multiplier and chance for arrows to explode. This is another one of those weapons that I definitely recommend trying, especially if you're looking around for a good bow to use. The DLC also added a whole bunch of new enchantments, but I won't go over each one. I will leave them for you to find on your own and try out if you decide to get this DLC. Because that is what I think is one of the best parts of getting a new DLC for this game. This DLC also added a ton of new mobs to the game. I'm not sure exactly how many each DLC in the past has added, but this definitely has to be up there as one of the biggest additions of mobs to the game. And they are all pretty unique and fun to deal with as well. So should you buy this DLC? Well, here's what I think. If you have gotten every single DLC prior to this one, I do recommend grabbing this one as well, since it is the final chapter of the Orb of Dominance plotline. Now, if you don't have any of the other DLCs yet, I recommend holding off on this DLC. I would not recommend you jumping straight into Echoing Void if it is your first time, because you are going to spoil the entire plotline before you even get a chance to play through it. Those are my recommendations, but as always, you can do whatever you want. In summary, the Echoing Void DLC puts a resolving end to the long story that the game has been following since practically the beginning. It is a very good DLC, but I don't recommend getting it until you have played through all or at least most of the DLCs before it. Quick little announcement, I recently got a VR headset and I've been playing Minecraft on it and it's a lot of fun, so let me know in the comments if you want me to record those videos and end up making a series on that. Give this video a like if it helped, and subscribe for more great videos like this one. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.